I'm so relieved that Les did not give you an overview of quantum mechanics, because that was my whole sermon. It is not. You do not want my interpretation of quantum mechanics. You can just talk to Les afterwards. He and I have spoken at length about it. Author, professor, and researcher Brené Brown defines overwhelm as an extreme level of stress and emotional and/or cognitive intensity to the point of feeling unable to function. So it seems to me that the difference between stress and overwhelm, these two emotional states, is that we are able to function in our daily existence under states of stress, but not so much in overwhelm. For many people, especially those of us in the margins of society, the past many years have led to a great amount of stress, if not overwhelm. For example, anyone who can become pregnant has had their right to body autonomy removed. Queer people, especially those identifying as trans, have seen rights removed and identities silenced in school settings, not to mention the many acts of violence perpetrated recently against queer folks or the places we frequent. Black folks and other people of color have seen a restriction in the teaching of the true U.S. history and acknowledging the harm done to so many of our siblings of color throughout this nation's history, not to mention a near gutting of the Voting Rights Act, designed to protect these very individuals. There has also been an abhorrent rise in anti-Semitism in this country, as we seemingly embrace a more fascist way of leading. Then came January 6, 2021, when collectively we witnessed a violent attempt to overthrow our elections, an event that has damaged our democracy in ways we really are only now beginning to understand. Today, I will be talking about parallel universes. And apparently, there is a universe out there where I did not forget page 2 of my sermon. Oh, y'all. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is very, thank you, universe, wherever we are. It has been one of those weeks for me. Maybe it's been that way for you. So this morning, I'm going to ask anyone physically present among us to raise your hand if you are feeling stress. Maybe keep your hand up if you feel overwhelmed. And those of you online, the YouTube chat is now working, so please feel free to type in stress or overwhelm to let us know how you're doing. The sense of stress or overwhelm that we may be feeling is exactly what actress Michelle Yeoh's character encounters in the first act of the movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Raise your hand if you've seen this movie. For all of you who have not seen this movie, I'm about to give a lot of spoilers, but not to the point where it's not worth seeing the movie. We are introduced to Michelle's character, Evelyn, whose life has really slipped into the mundane. She wakes up, she tends her laundromat, fights with the IRS, struggles to keep her rocky marriage working, and strives to please a father disappointed in all of her life choices. All in all, Evelyn's life seems full of stress and perhaps even overwhelm, with the sprinkles of disappointment and maybe even disdain. Everything seems too stressful, and life has become overwhelming. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty familiar to me. You did just witness, after all, a level of stress that was accidental, but real. Like Evelyn, also, I sometimes struggle with making meaning and purpose of my daily existence. But it turns out, though, I'm not alone, and there's, in fact, a name for this profound suspicion that life may really not have any purpose: nihilism. I know, you're like, oh my God, I came to a sermon today about nihilism. You did. But it's okay. It's actually in the IRS office that Evelyn is introduced to the concept of the multiverse by one of her husband's verse-traveling personas. Here, he explains to her that all of the parallel universes are in grave danger of destruction by some big bad entity. He provides Evelyn with technology that allows her to jump into her other selves in the various parallel universes, and she begins to travel and slowly see all of the various points that her life has diverged in her point of reference, resulting in very different lived experiences of her other personas. Before continuing, maybe I should explain the theoretical basis for the term multiverse, though all questions should be, please see Les Polgar after the sermon. But I think I'm going to get this. It turns out that this concept has actually been around for a while, and not just in the field of physics, but also philosophy. It's a scientific theory right now that is used to explain the rapid expansion of our observable universe. And in order, beyond my understanding, to get the math to math, we have to have multiple universes to account for the ever expansion of this observable universe. So that means there is, at its essence, a universe with a capital U that encompasses all of those other observable points of observation. The math and the physics determining all of these theories is way beyond me, but there are lots of books and people here to help you understand that if you'd like. But that's the basis. There are parallel universes out there. After traveling throughout her various selves in all of the different parallel universes, Evelyn becomes even more disillusioned and frustrated, as it would seem that everywhere she travels, she cannot escape the human experience of pain, sadness, disappointment, and disconnection from others. This level of overwhelm results in the big bad entity, spoiler alert, who happens to be Evelyn's daughter, ironically named Joy, trying to convince Evelyn to join her quest to destroy all of life in existence. Not out of hate, but out of wanting to prevent other people from feeling the deep sense of overwhelm that she has encountered. This embracing of the philosophy of nihilism. The philosopher often credited with formalizing the philosophy of nihilism is 19th century German philosopher and actual lover of language, Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche was the son of a Lutheran pastor, and he insisted that the growth of scientific understanding that had started under the Age of Enlightenment really no longer needed a faith in God. Therefore, God was dead. Now, while I'm not an avid theist, at least in the traditional sense, I must admit that it causes my heart to sink a little, quoting such an absolute phrase, God is dead. Truth be told, from my readings of Nietzsche, I think that he also might have been a little suspicious, or at least aware of the possible dangers in this worldview. When I read his thoughts, I read them as a direct critique of the Christian church and in its polar opposite belief that if we aren't suffering, we won't get closer to God. And therefore, what's the point of life? Also, when life becomes difficult, where would we draw strength to endure if not from God? In fact, in Western tradition of Christianity, it is our defense of those values, that God is truth, justice, beauty, love, all of the big ideas. It is the defending of that gives our Christian life purpose. Now, those of us identifying as Christians, at least, would lead our lives and die our deaths and have and feel meaning and purpose because we are taking on the heroic act of engaging in protecting Christianity and its philosophy. But if enlightenment killed God, how can we play heroes to ourselves? Without God, we are alone, exposed to a natural universe devoid of the comforting idea of God-given purpose to things. According to Nietzsche, this is the state of nihilism, the idea that life has no meaning or value, and he insists that feeling cannot be avoided. We must persevere through it, as frightening and lonely as that is. Evelyn's character does this, I think, in a very interesting way when she jumps herself into a universe where her persona and her daughter, Joy, exist only as rocks. She and Joy sit pensively as they overlook a cliff and have a very touching conversation about life and its purpose. It is here that Evelyn realizes that she has not always lived fully and that her choices may have damaged her daughter in ways unintended and unexpected. She apologizes for, quote, being so stupid. Her daughter replies, please, we're all stupid. Small, stupid humans. It's like our whole deal. She expands on the premise by turning to the Enlightenment period of Western history, where we finally agree that the earth revolves around the sun and not the opposite, even after murdering countless humans for suggesting anything other. She states, quote, every new discovery is just a reminder. We're all small and stupid. This is a nihilistic view of existence. Even in her rock state, Joy, the daughter, the big bad entity, was hopeful that Evelyn might convince her that the utter destruction of everything wasn't needed after all. In the English translation of his writing entitled Daybreak, Nietzsche describes God's death as a removal of the threat for divine punishment, which leaves us free again to experiment in our lives various ways to live, and frees us from making mistakes along the way. As I understand him, Nietzsche's nihilism is actually not without hope. He just rejects the notion of having hope in some unknowable entity or place beyond this physical one. He refers to those possessing such a belief of an afterlife or a hinterworld, as he called it, as being infected, not by an organism, but rather by centuries of theologians and philosophers trying to fully understand some mystical world beyond this one. Instead, he suggests that we not chase these mystical worlds. Nietzsche desires each of us to seize this world and our interactions and experiences with both hands. Live our life to the fullest. He believed that we could be heroes of our own stories. And once again, we can reclaim our creative wills from God. I see this as a kind of empowerment, a kind of hope that is very much, for me at least, the light of a clear blue morning. I realize that I may be condensing and oversimplifying thousands of years of philosophy, so in order to honor our Unitarian and skeptic heritages, I'm sure some of you are in the room and online, please email me or call me for a meeting for all corrections. In the film, though, It is not Evelyn nor Joy who works through their nihilism and reaches the ultimate Nietzschean purpose of embracing life and living to the fullest. It's actually her husband, Waymond, who, for the entirety of the film, has been nothing but persistent in his belief that fighting is futile and people need to have hope, even in universes that do not make any sense. Only when realizing that level of kindness, relationship building, reconciliation, and reparation are the paths to hope, healing our small, stupid minds. Only then can resolution come. To me, this is such a Unitarian Universalist framing of theology. Love is at the center of our faith values. It's the rock on which we build our homes of worship, on all of our interpersonal relationships, on the justice work we do in the greater world. It is the aspect of our faith that pushes us into the discomfort of the human experience in this world. Every existing and new relationship, in all of its complexity, is touched by love and an immense hope for transformation. At a meeting this week that I was a part of with one of our UU theologians, the Reverend Dr. Sophia Bentoncourt, reminded me that our deepest Universalist heritage contains an understanding that there is always a path to redemption, transformation, and reconciliation. And those paths are personal. It is not anyone's responsibility but our own. This provides for me a profound sense of hope. Maybe it's even a kind of Nietzschean hope. I'll let you know after the emails and meetings. After all, he did insist that this world has meaning and purpose if we are brave enough to engage in it, and with each other. There is transformative hope for the racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, hate-filled human. There is transformative hope for me and you. Now, I've given too many spoilers already for the film, and so it is wonderful, and I want you all to see it, so I'm not going to give you any more information about the film. Instead, I will tell you all that in my worldview, I have no way of doing the highly complex math behind the physics of the theoretical multiverse to pinpoint which of the other universes I am currently in. Nor do I even know if the theory of the multiverse is a scientific truth, as it is only a theory right now. Even if it is true, I do not possess the intellect nor brazenness to think that I may predict with any level of certainty all of the possible outcomes of my life. The strings of this life have already been measured, and I know not their length. But I am here to live it fully. I choose to embrace the hopeful Universalist belief in ultimate transformation, redemption, and salvation. I am ready to join others in making this the best life possible for all of us. My hope is that you are on this amazing journey too, trying to make sense of everything, everywhere, all at once.